Welcome back to Metals, Money, and Markets. February 1st for MiningClips, Rob Goodman and Mickey Fulp, the Mercenary Geologist. We'll run through this. Quite a bit of good economic data, Mickey. Sure jolted the equities markets. Dollar off a bit. Gold followed up a nice week with another nice week.
Gold was up 1.2% to 1318. It blew right through what we perceived was resistance at 1300. As you said, on a slightly weaker dollar, but really lower interest rates had something to do with it. And also the seasonality gold. It always goes up this time of year. Silver, another good week, 1588, up 1%. Platinum, up almost 1% to 823. Palladium actually has lost ground over the last 2 weeks. We picked that 1377 as the parabolic top, and it's now come off 2 weeks in a row off of that, trading at 1336, down 0.5%.
And copper put together a pretty good week here.
Copper was up, probably better on these U.S.-China trade talks. It's in modest contango. Here's a negative, though. BDI is at 2.5-year low. Really, copper is set to soar once China and the U.S. straighten this dispute out. It closed at 276, up over 1.5%.
And don't look now, but the yo-yo in oil continues on the upside here. Pretty good week.
Well, it was a very good week for oil. Closed at 55.28, up 3%. A lot of this had to do with OPEC cuts holding. Rigs were down 14. That's positive for the price. Production flat, 11.9 million barrels in the U.S. Inventories essentially flat. I think they went up or down. I can't remember. I think they went up 900,000 barrels. These U.S. Venezuelan sanctions have kind of roiled the tight, heavy crude market. U.S. Gulf Coast refineries never do get enough heavy sour crude, and Venezuela was one of the biggest suppliers. So an analyst or a trader was quoted today as saying everything with sulfur is getting a bid. Well, sulfur refers to heavy crude, also known as sour crude because it's got sulfur in it. Exacerbating the situation for Gulf Coast refineries, the Saudis reduced their exports to the U.S. by about 20%. So lots of things going on in the oil market. Some rumors of a strategic petroleum reserve release to ease the pain of Gulf Coast refiners. Only problem with that, there's no heavy crude in the strategic petroleum reserve. It's all light crude, and we export about 2.5 million barrels of that a day, and we could do more if we had the pipelines and the port capacity to get it to market.
And meanwhile, uranium off a nickel.
Think it's going to be flat pending this Section 232 decision on domestic uranium supplies. That's expected to mid-April. I really don't think, I think uranium price is going to tread water around $29 till that happens.
Yeah, the currency markets here, as mentioned, dollar off a bit here. Loonie having a pretty good run.
Yeah, I would say the Loonie's up on better oil prices, better gold prices. Euro was flat. No news, no negative news out of the Eurozone this week. That's a bit unusual. So the dollar was off a bit. Closed at 95.58. Lost 0.2%. Euro 114.6, up 0.6%. Loonie 76.42, up 1.1%. A lot of the dollar coming off had to do with very dovish remarks by Powell about interest rates on Wednesday. U.S. Treasury 10-year bond is now trading at low 2.6% range. Powell punched, Trump counterpunched, and we're seeing who won that battle.
Yeah, and heading over the equities markets here, fantastic jobs number, wages up, NASDAQ 18 years since I've had a January like this, and 7 years since I had a week like this.
Probably more importantly was returns on the Dow. January gains, biggest in 30 years. S&P 500, biggest gains in 32 years for January. You mentioned a strong jobs report. It was incredible. Over 300,000 new jobs for January. Dow closed at 25,057, up 1.3%. S&P 500, 2706, up 1.5%. NASDAQ, 7264, up 1.4%. Volatility is back to being very low. NASDAQ was probably held off a bit by poor Apple earnings, and Amazon had some problem today. I wasn't sure, knocked it down. What that was, knocked it down.
And as expected, the venture had a fantastic week.
Yeah, we're on this strong seasonality, but also gold, oil, copper, all up. That's positive for the commodity-centric venture exchange. Moderate volumes, about 75 million shares a day. Really, we're in this seasonal run, strong mid-January to early March till we hit PDAC, generally a very strong time for a Toronto Venture Exchange. So we're hopeful we can take some profits during this next 4 weeks.
Okay, appreciate the insight as always, and look forward to catching up with you next week. Thanks, Mickey.
Thanks a lot, Rob.